Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Java tutorial series. Throughout my tutorials I'll teach you Java using just Notepad and the command prompt. The order in which my tutorials are organized on both my website at javacjava.com and my YouTube playlist is designed to maximize learning by building on concepts from prior tutorials. This tutorial is about the pattern class, which of course has everything to do with regular expressions. I'm going to open up my web browser to my website, javacjava.com, select Menu, and then Regex Tutorials. Scroll down here to the pattern class tutorial. The pattern class is the primary Java class for compiling regular expressions. In this tutorial, I will demonstrate the methods from the pattern class. If you've been watching my Regex tutorial series thus far, then you should already be somewhat familiar with the compile method. Now, the pattern class and matcher class work in conjunction to perform many regex operations. Consider the following code: pattern p equals pattern.compile, and then here's our regular expression. In the statement above, the reference variable p refers to a compiled pattern object with state that represents the regex the. Now, regular expressions are by default case sensitive, so how can we create a compiled regex pattern that will ignore case? Well, we could do this here and pass in this expression here using basically these capturing groups and the OR operator there. Now, the regex above, I mean, it's crazy. So fortunately, we have a super easy way to create a case-insensitive regex pattern object. The compile and then the method that takes two parameters method is overloaded, so we can pass flags to change the behavior of the compiled regex pattern. Okay, so here's an example. Pattern compile, pass in the regex, and then for the second parameter there, pattern.caseInsensitive. Now if we invoke the matcher method with the string literal, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, on that string literal, the find method will return two results. Okay, so here's the total here. Pattern compile, string regex the, and the case insensitive flag there. Invoke the matcher method on it there, and then we can invoke find, that'll return true. Find again, that'll return true, so it'll find this the, and it'll find that the, right? And then we invoke it again one more time, it's false. So it found two results in there. Now, the regex language is very flexible, and there's a way to compile the same regex pattern object above using just pure regex, and the following will do the trick, right? Pattern compile, and then in this capturing group, we'll use a question mark I, and then of course we'll make a capturing group out of the. Now, I haven't gone over this sort of syntax and what this means yet, so don't worry about that. I'm going to be covering that in a future tutorial, but I just wanted to show you it is possible. Now, however, sometimes it's just easier to read and understanding the underlying pattern by using the parameter flags versus regex flags. Don't get me wrong, both ways are equally important to understand, and you should strive to learn each way. Let's just go ahead and get started. But before we do, you could see this particular pattern object versus this. It's very obvious that, this is very simple looking up here. Very obvious what the underlying pattern is going to do. Down here, you have to say, oh, what is that I? Or if you're making it and you don't use this on a daily basis, you're not a regex guru, but you use it occasionally there, you have to go back and refer to the cryptic syntax and what does that mean, right? So anyway, that's just the point I'm trying to make there. But then there are cases when this makes perfect sense too as well. So let's come down here and highlight the source code, and I'm going to go over all the methods in the pattern class here in this tutorial there. And Control-C to copy, or right-click and select copy. Move my browser off screen. And I've got a shortcut to the command prompt on my desktop, but if you don't have that, you can create one really fast by right-clicking, selecting New Shortcut. CMD next and finish. Just that easy. If you're new to my tutorials, the first thing you want to do is type in javac, which is a Java compiler command. You should see all this stuff scroll by. However, if you receive an error message, watch my tutorial on installing the Java Development Kit. I want to make sure you get that installed and configured properly before continuing. CLS to clear the screen, CD space /, CD is short for change directory, / tells it to go to the root. I'm going to make a directory with the MD command off the root here called Java, and I already have that folder, but if you don't, I'll go ahead and create one for you. I'm going to make another directory here, and I am going to call this one pattern class. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change directories to the pattern class folder, and I'm on a notepad, pattern class.java. That'll be the name of our source code file, also known as a compilation unit. Okay, and Control-V to paste, or right-click and select paste. Okay, fairly simple on this here, just importing the Java util regex package. I call my class pattern class, my main method entry point here. What we're gonna do is go ahead and just compile this and run it here and then we'll take it statement by statement to see what's going on with all these methods here. Let's clear our screen, Java C to compile this, Java to run it, and let's scroll up to the top here. Okay, so the very first thing here, and I'm just displaying this this to the console, the search string, and then if we invoke the compile method, right, and the overloaded version of it, where we have the regex and then the pattern case insensitive, and then I'm just going to piggyback the matcher method, passing in the string that we want to search there to come up with our matcher object there that M is referring to. And then we'll loop through and invoke the find method on the matcher object there and display the results there, right? So if we compile the pattern case insensitive, we get a match at index number 0, right? Which is right here on the with the uppercase T here, and then one at index number 23, right? Which is over here, okay? So it's fairly simple, fairly self-explanatory on how that works. Okay, then I also said, we can do the same exact thing here. And so we use the compile method with just a single parameter there, passing in, the insensitive, case insensitive syntax there at the regex raw stuff there. And you can see that pattern compile and index 0 and index 23. So same result there. One is just passing in using the overloaded version of compile there, okay? But basically in these two things here, so far we've gone over the compile method with 2 parameters, and we've also using the matcher method there, which returns back a matcher object, okay? And then we've also gone over the compile method here with 1 parameter, and then the matcher method there. So let's move on to the method matches, right? And it's a static method, and it returns back a Boolean, okay? You're looking at this and you might go, okay, oh, cool. Hey, we don't have to do this necessarily. It almost looks from the documentation that you pass in, the first parameter is a regex, and then your second one is the character sequence input. So it almost looks like, we could eliminate this whole entire thing here, right, by using the regular expression and then, of course, the character sequence, and then get back true. Well, this one doesn't exactly work like that. It's works much differently than you might expect. So let's take a look at I'm gonna scroll up to the first one up here, right? So if we invoke the matches, right, and I'm basically doing Boolean B and I'm doing pattern matches, our regular expression, just a simple string little the, and then, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, it returns back false. As you can see, right? You might be going, well, why does that return back false? Well, the matches method, right? I'll show you in the next one here. If we do the and the, it'll return true. You're like going, oh, well, that's bizarre, right? So it actually matches the regular expression to exactly in here. It doesn't do exactly what the find method does in the matcher class, right? When we invoke that, the find will return back true, as we'd expect this to do something like, in this right here, right? But it doesn't do that at all. So if we have a perfect match, it'll return back true. You might be going, well, what's the point of this thing then, right? Here, if we do the and then we do the space, we just add a space to the search string here, right? And hey, we get false. You might be going, all right, what is going on here? Okay, let's keep just kind of moving on down here. So what if we do the matches with the dot? As you know, that's the wildcard character, if you were following my meta characters tutorial there. So if we do the dot, and then we search the squeaky wheel gets the grease, we still get false. So we're like going, okay, this is odd. Now what if we do the dot and then the space? Hey, that returns back true. Okay, basically what it's saying is when we pass this regex in here, let's go up to this one right up here, is we got the dot. It's expecting the string literal on the match on that to be only 5 characters long, and the first character can be any character, and then followed by THE, and then the last character can be any character. If it's anything other different than that, it's going to be false because we've got a whole bunch of characters, way more than 5. And this will return back true because we got THE and then our wildcard dot, right, and THE space. So that returns true. So how can we kind of start maybe making this work the way we want to? Well, if you watch my last tutorial, we had an introduction to quantifiers here, right? Well, basically, we can do the dot, which is the wildcard character, and then we'll do the quantifier specifying 1, comma, and then leaving that second parameter blank there, right? And that'll basically mean we want one or more any wildcards, and then THE followed by 1 or more anything wildcard there. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that particular regex returns back true. Okay, so now you're probably going, okay, I'm starting to get this now. I'm starting to understand what the matches really does there, okay? Now, down here in there, down in the source code here, I've got a couple of comments there. The plus quantifier translates into 1 or more times. When we combine that with the wildcard, we get our desired result, dot plus. Now, in the quantifier introduction tutorial there, I only went over this sort of syntax right there, where you could specify your curly bracket and then the number of times that something will be repeated in there, right? And then you can do either range or, a 1 to, infinity by that using that. Now, the plus, right here, quantifier, is the exact same shorthand for this right here, 1 comma there, right? That literally translates into 1 or more times, okay? So by using the regular expression dot plus, THE, dot plus, the squeaky wheel gets the grease equals return true, okay? So that's actually how the matches method works, right? This up here where you'd expect it to work, and then the squeaky wheel gets the grease, false, right? You really have to specify and go this far into the regular expression in order to get matches to return back true, okay? And that'll actually match the lowercase the, right? And you can imagine what we need to do if we wanted it to match it as like case insensitive. But anyway, we'll move on to the next thing here. So pattern is just a super simple one here. It returns back a string and it takes no parameters. So the first thing we have to do is compile a pattern object in order to invoke that. So I'm just going to go ahead and compile this pattern object, and then I'll show you what it returns back there, right? It will just simply basically, by invoking p.pattern, return back the exact same pattern that we had originally there, okay? Pretty simple, straightforward. Not a whole lot to that one. Quote, let's talk about quote here. If we do this pattern right here, quote will return back the, basically the predefined character classes. If you watch that tutorial, the meta characters one there too. More so the meta characters tutorial, come to think of it, is where I covered the /q and the /e, right? So basically it just simply returns back puts q and e's in front of there. I don't really know the purpose of why you'd want to use quote here. You can see I did several different regular expressions in here, and it just basically puts q and e in front of it there, so whatever. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Don't really see the point of that one there, but just figured I'd cover it anyway. All right, split. So let's talk about split here. So that returns back a string array, right? And we split a character sequence, okay? So we obviously have to have some sort of a compiled regular expression to begin with there. So we'll do that first. So we'll compile the regular expression and do it case insensitive, right? And then when we invoke the split method here into a string array, and I'm just doing string s array, right? Split, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's two schools of thought on what you might think this does, and you might think that it'll return back any instances, or not any pattern matches for the in case insensitive. So your s array might either contain uppercase the and then lowercase the. Excuse me. But that's not what it does. at all. What it does is it returns back everything except any matches of the, right? So your array length just displayed, this is 3, and your first one is completely blank, and that's because right in front of the there, right, there is in fact, no character there, right? And then the next thing it'll return back is space, squeaky wheel, get space, right? And then the last thing is space grease. So, and then what I did right here is I just, instead of print lines, I just did a print, right? So space, squeaky wheel, space get, space grease, period, right? So that's what the split does. Returns back everything except for the matches of the regular expression in there, okay? All right, let's talk about the next one there, the last one that I'm going to discuss, which is the last method in there, which is the flags. And the flags is really just super duper easy. So in this particular pattern object here, I'm just compiling. Of course, regex the and pattern case insensitive, right? And if we invoke the flags, we just simply get back that equals 2, because the flags just is an int and no parameters in the method on that there, right? And then I just displayed to the console, right, pattern.case insensitive there, so you can see it returns back 2, which is the int value of that particular field there. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this and that and just leave you guys with some quick final thoughts there. Now that I've gone over the methods from the pattern class, stay tuned for my next tutorial where I will discuss some common methods from the matcher class. That concludes this tutorial. Thanks for watching.